the Robe for kids. And today we're going to talk about John the Baptist being put in prison. Now, how can someone who is such a good person, a preacher, a prophet, the one who is leading the way for Jesus, be put in prison? Sometimes people are put into prison for all the right reasons. That is, they're doing good, but there are those in leadership, those who have authority, that want to do bad. So they put good people in prison. And that happens all over the world to Christians. Did you know that? In North Korea, those who are preaching the gospel are put in prison, and some of them are even killed. In China, churches are being destroyed. Pastors are being put in prison. Why? For preaching good news. And I could go through a lot of nations. In England, can you believe it? There are pastors who are being put in prison simply for praying on the sidewalk in front of an abortion clinic. Can you believe that? Quietly praying across the street, but put in prison? That makes no sense at all. So today, we're going to be talking about a friend, a preacher, a prophet, who is called John the Baptizer. After John baptized Jesus, he continued to preach fearlessly. John even reminded the ruler Herod of his sins, and Herod was very upset. Herod's wife did not like John the Baptist because of his preaching. She wanted her husband to kill this preacher. To please her, Herod had John the Baptist put in prison. How sad is that? News of how Jesus raised the widow's son from the dead spread through the country quickly. Even in prison, John the Baptizer heard about it. John longed to see and know more about these things. So he calls two of his disciples. Go to Jesus and ask him, are you the one who is to come, or should we look for another? He wanted to make sure Jesus truly was Messiah. That's a tough one, because John should have known. Even when he baptized him, he heard the words from heaven, this is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Sometimes we see miracles, sometimes maybe even hear God, and we go back into our doubts. My goodness. We all struggle with doubt. So boys and girls, if sometimes you doubt, you're just like the rest of us. We struggle with doubts. And so the two hurried to Jesus with John's question. While they waited for Jesus' answer, many people gathered around the master and begged for healing. There were cripples, there were the blind, there were lepers, there was the deaf, and people of all kinds of sicknesses. One by one, Jesus healed them. Turning to the two disciples who had come from John the Baptizer, Jesus said, go back and tell John what you have seen. Tell him how the blind see, the lame walk, the deaf hear, lepers are cured, the dead are raised to life, and evil spirits are cast out. The good news of the kingdom is also preached to the poor. The two took this message back to John. He was glad to hear about the wonderful works of Jesus. Not long after that, Herod commanded that John be killed. Friends who had comforted John in prison came and buried his body. Then they went to tell Jesus what Herod had done. See, all over the world, there are those who believe in Jesus and follow him. There are those who preach good news about Jesus. And then there are those just like Herod who arrest them and put them in prison. And sometimes they are even killed. That is so sad. So you see, sometimes there are those who are doing the right thing, but there's someone in authority, a judge, for example, who is doing bad things, and he wants to put people away who are good. Bad judge, good people put in prison because of a bad judge who is being confronted with his bad things. My goodness. Well, what's important is that we all know that we have a task, a mission, and that's to share good news. And sometimes sharing good news, like when you're in school, you might share Jesus with another student, and you may have a teacher that doesn't believe. And then she's going to send you to the principal's office. Oh my goodness. But you will know in your heart you were doing the right thing. And so I hope and pray you never have to go through that. But John the Baptizer gave his life for Jesus. And he gave his life because he was willing to always tell the truth. Well, let's take a look at some questions for you to talk about. And you might want to look at Matthew chapter 11, verses 1 through 6, Luke chapter 3, verses 19 and 20, and chapter 7, verse 18 to 23. Read those and then talk about these questions. Why did John the Baptist send two friends to speak to Jesus? How did John the Baptist's life end? And why do you think Jesus listed for John all the miracles that he had performed? Those ought to bring great questions as you discuss this with your friends or family members. And I hope that you will. And how do you like my frog? I tell my grandchildren that Papa once was a frog. And then one day Miss Connie kissed the frog, and here I am, her handsome husband. How silly is that? We know that that's just a fairy tale, but I thought I'd share it with you because frogs are important to Miss Connie. And obviously, she kissed the frog, and here is Papa. Well, enough silliness. Let's remember John the Baptist, and let's have a little fun with one another through this summer. Be safe and love one another. Into my heart, into my heart, come into my heart, Lord Jesus, come in today, come in to stay, come into my heart, Lord Jesus. Amen.